In the business world, many companies implement control activities that allow the business to better monitor its cash flows. In some instances, only a minor amount of cash is needed, meaning the process of writing a check is not really that worth it. Some of these examples include the purchase of various office supplies. So to deal with these matters, a business can establish what is known as a petty cash fund. Tyler et al. Defines a petty cash fund as the amount of cash kept on hand to pay for minor expenditures. This accounting method involves three main activities: 1. Establishing the fund, 2. Making payments from the fund, and 3. Replenishing the fund. So let's take a look at the first activity, establishing the fund. To establish a petty cash fund, a check is written for the amount of the fund. The check is then cashed and placed under care by an employee who has been appointed as the custodian. Following this, a journal entry is then made to record the establishment of the fund. Once a fund is established, the cash is used to pay for the expenditures. Payments can be made two ways. 1. Cash is taken from the fund to make the payment. And 2. Employees seek reimbursement from the fund for payments they have personally made. In both cases, the custodian must collect receipts and authorizations for the use of any cash. Remember to note that because payments are made from petty cash, no journal entries are made. Journal entries are only recorded when the fund is replenished, which we'll see in the next step. It's important to know that as the fund is used, the cash decreases, meaning the fund must be replenished. In order to replenish the fund, the remaining cash is counted and the businesses cash a check for the amount that brings the amount of the cash in the fund back to its original balance. The collected receipts are then used as documentation for recording expenses. You should note that during the replenishment of the fund, the amount of cash required for replenishment should equal the total amount of receipts. However, in a very dynamic business environment, this is not always the case. Sometimes not every receipt is collected or an incorrect amount of change is given. This results in a discrepancy between the cash needed and the amount of receipts. When this happens, the discrepancy is made into an account called the cash and overshort. The cash and overshort account is a temporary account that can have either a debit or credit balance, depending on what has happened. A debit balance increases expenses, while a credit balance decreases expenses.